This is the potato recipe that earned me second place at the Meat and Tater contest. They're Jalapeño Popper Potato Stacks. Let's make them. Looking for some kind of new appetizer to cook up at your next party, your next tailgate? I've got you covered. This is a Jalapeño Popper Potato Stack. What the heck does that even mean? Well, think about all the best flavors of a jalapeno popper, the jalapenos, the bacon, the cream cheese, the cheddar cheese, plus a potato stack, which is layers upon layers of thinly sliced potatoes that are kind of like a cupcake. Those two flavors mixed together make the perfect handheld treat for any party or tailgate. I came up with this recipe for a barbecue competition in Idaho. They had an ancillary category, which was of course potatoes, because that's what Idaho's known for. Well, we had to come up with something creative. When it comes to ancillary competitions, I'm always thinking of lots of balance of flavors, balances of textures, and that's how this whole dish came to be. Let's talk about the ingredients you're gonna need for this recipe. First, we're gonna use butter and of course bacon. I've just got 2 slices here that I have chopped up. Then for our aromatics, for our vegetables, I've got some shallot, which is like a baby onion. It's a little bit sweeter. You could use regular onion, but I do like the shallot, plus jalapeno, plus garlic. You just want that all minced up together. We're gonna put that in there later. A little bit of flour. This is gonna help thicken the sauce that we're gonna make. The sauce is made with milk. I like using whole milk just because it's a richer flavor. Got 3 ounces of cream cheese here, a little bit of Parmesan cheese. That's gonna add saltiness. And speaking of salt, I've got kosher salt and I've got chicken bouillon. Chicken bouillon comes in a container like this. You just get it in your spice aisle. If you taste things and you're like, oh my God, that has so much good flavor, what is the secret? A lot of times, especially at restaurants, they are adding this. So this is really gonna add some good flavor for you. Of course, you need an Idaho russet potato. We're also gonna be using a mandolin to get really thin slices on our potato. Then when we layer our potato stacks, you're gonna need some shredded cheddar cheese. Honestly, you can use any kind of cheese, but I like the cheddar. And then we're gonna get that crunchy topping with some Parmesan, some panko breadcrumbs, and I like to add a little pinch of Cajun seasoning just to finish things out. All right, let's get to making this. First, you're gonna need a sauce pot. We're gonna put it on a stove over medium heat, and we are going to add the butter and the bacon and get that all browned up and melted. All right, once your butter starts to brown and the bacon starts to brown, it is time to add your vegetables. So again, we've got jalapeno, shallot, and garlic. And we only need to cook this for like 30 seconds or so. You just want it to saute and soften just a bit. Next, we're gonna add in the flour and make a roux, and the flour is gonna help thicken our cream cheese sauce. You just need to stir it until it's nice and combined, and you want to just cook off the flour just a little bit. Okay, now you can add in your milk, add in your cream cheese. I like it to be a little bit softened, a little bit room temperature. That'll help it melt faster. And I'm also going to add in the Parmesan. And now you just want to kind of stir this. The milk is going to thicken into a cream sauce, and this cream cheese is also going to melt. All right, this is looking good. Look how thick it got. The cream cheese is almost fully melted. So I'm gonna go ahead and season it up. I've got about a teaspoon of kosher salt and a half a teaspoon of that chicken bouillon. You'll just wanna mix that right in there as well. And then be sure to give it a taste. If you want it saltier, add a little bit more salt. If you like black pepper or white pepper, go ahead and add that to it. But I think this balance is perfect. All right, this is exactly what I'm looking for. We're gonna take this off the heat and go start making the potatoes. All right, here's the cream sauce. You can see how thick it is. That's exactly how I want it. I'm gonna take this and just kind of let it cool, setting it to the side. Now it's time to prep our potatoes. So you can do this process with a knife, but you've gotta get really thin slices, because if your slices are too thick, then your layers just aren't gonna be as magical as they are when you do the super thin slices. So this is a mandolin. I'll include a link to it in the show notes so that you guys can pick one up on Amazon. I'm pretty sure that's where I got it. But it just has different blades that you put in here. I've got just the regular V blade. You pop it in there. Be careful, it's super sharp. There are 2 dials on the side. This one, makes these little ridges go up. We're not gonna use that. We just want it to be totally smooth and flat. And then this dial is what controls the thickness of your slice. So you can see there, hopefully, that would be like a really thick slice. We don't want that. For this recipe, I turn it all the way down to where it is so razor thin. You take your potato, you just run it across the top. The first few slices we're actually gonna get rid of because they're just the end pieces. But you can almost see through this, guys. It's so paper thin. This is exactly what you want because when it cooks, the potato kind of melts like a mashed potato layered with all of these ingredients. So I'm gonna go ahead and toss this and then we'll get to doing the rest. All right, here we go. You wanna press down on the mandolin as you are putting it on to the blade. Because if you did it lightly, then you're not gonna hardly get anything. So I press it down, give it a little bit of muscle. And then I also like to rotate the potato every now and then because I may not be pushing evenly one way or the other, and then it might start getting a little bit slanted. Like you can see, like this piece is not really super great. I got a couple of those, but most of these pieces are exactly what I'm looking for. Every now and then I just throw them into a bowl and then just keep on slicing. You only need one potato for this recipe. If you want to do this in a mini version, like mini muffins, you could totally do that too. Instead of getting a big potato like this, you would use like mini potatoes. You could do it with red potatoes, Yukon Golds. If you do use mini potatoes, just be extra careful. As you get closer to this blade, there is a knuckle blocker that you'll want to put on the potato so you don't cut your knuckles and fingers. I'll show you that in just a second because I am getting close. Here we go. This is it. So it's got some little prongs in here. You're basically gonna stick your potato on there, put the prongs in there, and now you can keep on slicing without slicing your fingers. And you want to push down on the potato still, so you've got to push down on this part. There we go, those look better. Now comes the fun part. We're going to layer these up. This should be cool enough to touch now. You're going to take one of these super thin layers of potatoes, put it in your sauce, and then lay the sauce right in the cup. Go ahead and do that with all 12. You just want to get a light coat of sauce on each piece of potato. Sometimes I have to flip it a couple times because it doesn't stick the very first time. And don't worry that the bottom of the cup is not going to be the exact same size as your potato. Just like get it in there, and if it folds up on the edges, that's okay. Once you get your first layer, then you're going to take your shredded cheese and just do just a couple sprinkles on top of that saucy potato that you put in there. Then you're just going to repeat the whole process, taking another skin, getting some sauce on it, putting it right in your cup, and then just adding more cheese. You're going to do that until you finish 7 layers. Okay, I just added the 7th layer of potato. Now I'm going to finish it off with the cheddar cheese. And now you can use any type of muffin liner. I actually like these, especially for when I'm doing this for a competition, because some of the cheese will kind of melt up onto the sides of it, and it gets kind of lacy, and it just helps with the overall presentation. But if you're not turning this in for a competition, you're not worried about appearance scores, you can just use those cheap liners, that's totally fine. If you want to make this in advance for your party, this is the moment where you would stop. You would get everything filled up all the way to the cheddar cheese layer, then you would put this in the refrigerator, and then once your guests come, you can throw it in your oven or your smoker. I'm going to explain that process shortly, but you want to stop at this stage. Everything will be fine right here, because what we're going to do next is add the Parmesan cheese and the panko, but you don't want to add that early because the panko is crispy, and if you add it early, what's going to happen is it's going to get softened with all the moisture and you'll lose the texture. So just stop at this point if you want to make this in advance. So I'm just taking a pinch of Parmesan cheese. This is going to add a little bit of nuttiness, a little bit more saltiness, and some great flavor. I've just got a few tablespoons here. As you can see, I'm not measuring every single layer. You're just kind of eyeballing it. Just use the rest up where you see any bald spots. Awesome. And then what I have here is the panko. Panko breadcrumbs are a Japanese style of breadcrumbs. You can find them in the Asian aisle, and they just kind of like stay crispy. I kind of want to compare them to like Pop Rocks. I mean, they don't have that same fizzy sensation, but they give you this crunchy sensation that stays crispy when you bake it. So it just gives it that beautiful kind of potato gratin kind of topping. Okay, that's it. Next, this is totally optional, but I have got a pinch of Cajun seasoning. Just gonna add a touch of heat, spice, salt, and really balance it out. Little savoriness. Great. Now one more thing to put on top. We're gonna get our mandolin again. Same setting, I've got it as small as possible. And I have a fresh jalapeno here. You just need like 12 to 24. I'm gonna go ahead and put 2 slices on each. You could just put 1 slice on each if you want to, but they're super thin, so they're not gonna be overly spicy. However, they're gonna tell people that there are jalapenos in here. So if you have somebody who is not a fan of jalapenos, they'll know right up front. Do a few more. You can do these thicker if you want to. I just like the thin ones because they just kind of melt into it. And they add a nice pop of green, which, as you know, when I'm doing these for barbecue competitions, appearance means everything. Let me get this cleaned up, and then I'm gonna tell you how I cook these. Okay, these are ready to be baked. If you bake them in the oven, set your oven to 350 degrees, and they're gonna take 25 to 30 minutes. If you cook them on a grill, I cooked them on a drum smoker at 350, and it took them about 35 to 40 minutes. What you're looking for is you want all the layers to be totally cooked through so they kind of melt when you eat them. You don't want there to be any real texture or chewiness left. The way to know when they're done, since that time variation is a lot between oven and grills, is you want to cook them to an internal temperature of about 205 degrees. I'm going to be cooking them in the oven today, so let's go ahead and pop them in. All right, these look so good. Now though, we need to let these cool. To help them cool a little bit faster, you can actually go ahead and transfer them to your serving platter. The reason we want to let these cool is because they'll peel better. You want the cheese to like harden just a little bit, especially if you're using these cups and you're trying to get those lacy edges. Now, when you serve these, if you are doing it for just a party, you can definitely leave them in their little liners. And you can serve them just like this, and then people can grab them and they can eat them. They don't even need a plate. But if you're doing them for a barbecue competition, I'll show you how to do that plating. And these don't just have to be appetizers. If you peel these out and you put them on a plate with a big ribeye or a slice of prime rib, they make a really beautiful side. It's kind of like a version of potato gratin, you know, layers of cheese and cream, but in a little like cup-sized little mini muffin. Plus you get that jalapeno popper and bacon hit, which is awesome. So we're gonna let these cool, and then I'm gonna peel them and show you how I plate them up for competitions. Okay, these have cooled for about 10 minutes, so now I'm gonna show you how I like to plate them for a barbecue competition. Usually we're allowed to have a small platter, and I like to do small plates because we have to turn in 6 portions, so this gives the judge just like one little plate. And little tip, these are actually coasters that I picked up on Amazon, so super simple, cheaper than plates actually. So now, let me find a good one here to give you an example. This one looks good. So I'm looking for the ones that kind of had a little bit of cheese come up on the side, and I'm gonna slowly peel it. It started to cool, which is what we wanted, because now I get these little lacy, flaky edges. And be careful with it because it is a little bit fragile. And then you just put it on the plate. Now, this is perfect. You can serve it just like this for a party. You can, like I said, put this on a plate with a steak, and it's a delicious side dish. For competitions, I always go one little step extra. What I actually do is cook up some bacon, let it cool, throw it in a spice grinder and get it really ground up, and then I sprinkle a little bit of that bacon on top. And then I always like to add a little fresh garnish, something little green pop. So I just put a couple of sliced green onions on here, and I like to cut them on the bias too. And there you go. That was the appetizer dish that I turned in Idaho. So again, you could use regular cupcake liners, but by using these tall ones, that's how I get these beautiful lacy edges. You only have to serve 6 judges at a competition, but there's always a table captain who's number 7, and they don't usually get to eat because we usually only serve 6 pieces. So I do like to give a 7th portion. It doesn't help my points at all, but it's just kind of my way of saying thank you for being a table captain, because it is all volunteer what they do. So I hate that they have to like see what we're cooking and look at it and then they don't get to taste it. So this is just a little perk for them. Moment of truth, let's dig in. Gosh, you can just see all the layers of potatoes. It is so creamy. The potatoes are creamy because we cooked them to the right temperature. The cream cheese bacon filling is so creamy. The cheddar cheese is nice and melted. Plus you can hear that crunch. That's from those panko breadcrumbs. Can you just see the layers of flavor in there? So good, you guys. That's it, guys. These are my jalapeno popper potato stacks. Look at how fun and beautiful they are. Delicious because everybody loves a jalapeno popper. Everybody loves a potato. Like, it's the perfect match made in heaven. It's bite-sized. It is fancy enough for a steak dinner, but it's fun enough for your next football tailgate party. And it's good enough for a barbecue competition. When I did the ancillary category in Idaho, it took 2nd place in potato. I hope you guys give these a try. I have the full recipe at girlscangrill.com. As always, be sure to hit that subscribe button so you never miss a recipe video like this. I'll see you next week, guys. Happy grilling.